This activity analysis is brought to you by Claire Van Hoos and Kristen Cottrell. A breakdown of our activity analysis is that we were assigned the occupation of ADLs, or activities of daily living. The activity we chose of ADLs was personal hygiene and grooming, and we will specifically break down the task of hairbrushing. The value, meaning, and dynamics of this occupation are as follows. ADLs are meaningful because they are activities of self-help or self-care. This involves someone taking care of their own body. And this is important because taking care of your body enables an individual to live a healthier, happier, and more fulfilled life. ADLs, and specifically grooming, are dynamic because they involve interactions with other occupations, such as health management. And they specifically involve performance skills and patterns, activity demands and contexts, and client factors that all vary between individuals. The object, space, and social demands for this activity of grooming, and specifically the task of hairbrushing, are also as follows. The space required is a bathroom that is big enough to normally stand up in and move about in very freely. The tools you need are a hairbrush, a mirror, and a washcloth. The equipment you need is a sink with running water and a bathroom counter to set your supplies on. Your supplies include deodorant, face wash, and detangling spray. This activity of grooming and the task of hairbrushing for a normal functioning individual does not require any social demands. However, there could be adaptations that do require social demands, and we will cover those later. Personal beliefs, values, and spirituality for the task of grooming. This task can be influenced by someone's beliefs, values, and spirituality depending on their culture. Beliefs or core beliefs about grooming will influence what someone values in their grooming activity. Not everyone will agree on what is valuable or important to include in grooming. In this particular example brought to you by Claire and I, we believe deodorant application, face washing, and hairbrushing to be important aspects of grooming or self-care. However, not everyone may value face washing, and not everyone may value using some of the supplies that we choose to use or the sequence that we choose. Culture will directly influence spirituality of this process and whether or not there are spiritual aspects to it. This is not always directly observable. We are socially distanced, however, she's going to wash her face, so she does not have eye protection on, a mask, or gloves. Alright, now let's get into the task of hairbrushing specifically and look at client factors, performance skills, performance patterns, demands, contexts, and adaptations.
Now we will talk about the client factors associated with hairbrushing. Some of these factors include physical strength and abilities and endurance. This means being able to lift and manipulate the brush and being able to do that for an extended period of time in order to complete the hairbrushing process. There are also cognitive factors, such as knowing when you need to brush your hair and when you need to stop brushing your hair when it's been brushed enough. Age is also a factor. This is because age can contribute to both the physical and cognitive aspects of hairbrushing. So maybe a younger person may need help with theirs, or so may an older person. Sex and gender. Men may do their hair differently than women, and people express their gender through hair and their hairstyles. Culture is another important aspect. What someone does with their hair and how they brush it is going to differ. For example, what are the cultural expectations for when, how, and why you brush your hair? Are there specific products you use? Is it part of a larger specific routine that you complete? And what is your hair type? Is it straight? Is it curly? Is it fine? And all of these things will ultimately determine how you brush your hair and the utensils that you need in order to do so.
There are several performance skills involved in the task of hairbrushing. These motor tasks are aligning and coordinating and stabilizing your body positioning. Manipulate the brush with your wrist and your fingers through your hair. You have to be able to lift the brush off of the counter and to your head to brush. And you have to be able to calibrate the appropriate force used with the hairbrush on your hair. You don't want to brush so hard you pull your hair out, or not brush too light and not actually pull the brush through your hair. And you have to be able to have some endurance, because holding your arm above your head can be kind of tiring. There are also some processing skills involved in hairbrushing. You need to be able to choose the appropriate tools used for hairbrushing, and you have to be able to use those tools as intended and appropriately. You have to be able to handle those tools and stabilize them in an appropriate manner. You also have to be able to start each step without hesitation and thinking about it too much, and continue without an interruption. And really important, you need to be able to end the task at an appropriate time without, persisting beyond what is safe or suitable for the activity.
It is also important to consider the sequencing and timing of hairbrushing. However, this may differ between people. For example, in the video, I used detangler. What's important about this is that I have to use the detangler first before I can start brushing if I want it to be effective. However, others may not need detangler, so this step could be eliminated in that case. Another important thing to consider is that when you brush your hair, you want to brush in a downward motion starting at the bottom part of the hair in order to avoid breakage and damaging of the hair.
And then I also like to start from bottom to top, and that helps with not breaking your hair.
Yes, sequencing. It's not always important, but so like the sequencing of the water or the detangler doesn't always have to be at the beginning, but it is important to start at the ends and work your way up to the roots of your hair so that you don't create more knots.
Okay.
What are the body functions and structures associated with hairbrushing? First, there are muscle functions, mainly the muscles of the upper arm, lower arm, and the hand, and this also includes muscle endurance for being able to maintain and hold that position. Some of these muscles could include the trapezius, biceps, and the muscles of the forearm. There are also musculoskeletal and movement-related functions that have to do with joint mobility of the upper arm, lower arm, and hand, and joint stability of the arm and hand. So think about the finger joints, elbow joints, shoulder joints, and wrist joints in order to be able to maintain and manipulate. The sensory functions include proprioceptive function, so that you know where your arm is in relationship to your head and to your hair, and then movement functions, which is voluntary movement and being able to voluntarily complete the task. Adaptations for age. Hairbrushing can be adapted depending on the age of the person. For example, individuals who are younger or potentially older adults may require assistance from other individuals. In this case, the task would then require social performance skills. Another example is a young child may need a step stool to see in the mirror or a hairbrush with a smaller handle. An elderly adult may need to sit for this task to prevent fatigue, or they may need different tools and supplies. For example, they may use a dry shampoo or just a washcloth or their fingers to brush through their hair. Hairbrushing can also be adapted for people with disabilities. For example, as we saw earlier, you can use a brush with a longer handle for people who have limited range of motion. You can also use verbal prompts or visual cues to help guide someone through the task. Finally, you can also use checklists, either written or photos, to help someone follow the instructions.